was not a hero. He knew this about himself. He was just a medic on a cargo ship doing his job, trying not to die in the cold emptiness of space. The ship was called Iron Passage. It was old and loud and smelled like engine oil. Had worked on it for 3 years. His job was simple. When someone got hurt, he fixed them. When someone got sick, he gave them medicine. When someone died, he filled out the paperwork. He was good at his job, not great, just good enough. The Iron Passage was flying through the drift sector that night. The drift sector was dangerous. Pirates lived there. Smugglers hid there. Smart captains avoided it completely. But smart captains also charged more money, and the company that owned Iron Passage was cheap. Was sleeping in his small cabin when the alarm started screaming. He jumped out of bed and ran to the bridge. Captain was already there, staring at the main screen with a worried face. "What is it?" asked. "Distress signal," the captain said, "coming from inside the asteroid field." Looked at the screen. He could see the floating rocks, thousands of them spinning slowly in the darkness. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, a small light was blinking. A ship, a dying ship. "We should help them," said. Captain laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "Do you know whose ship that is?" Looked closer. The ship's design was strange, beautiful. The metal was silver and curved like flowing water. Even broken and burning, it looked expensive. It looked royal. Whispered. They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had been flying through space when humans were still living in caves. Their skin glowed blue. Their blood was silver. They considered themselves perfect, and they considered everyone else beneath them. Especially humans. To the humans were like insects, dirty, primitive, not worth talking to, not worth saving. "If we go in there," Captain said, "and they find out humans touched their royal ship, they might kill us just for that." Understood, he really did, but his scanner was showing something that made his heart hurt. "There's someone alive in there," he said quietly. "One life sign, weak, getting weaker." The captain closed his eyes. "Don't do this." "I'm a medic, I save people, that's my job." "They're not people, they hate us." Was already walking toward the shuttle bay. "Then they can hate me while I save their life." The shuttle ride through the asteroid field was terrifying. Rocks flew past the windows. Some of them were bigger than the shuttle itself. Gripped the controls and prayed to gods he didn't believe in. When he finally reached the ship, he had to cut through the hull to get inside. The metal was strong, but his tools were stronger. The door fell away and stepped into darkness. The smell hit him first, blood, burning, death. He turned on his flashlight and almost vomited. Bodies everywhere. Guards in silver armor, their chests torn open. Servants in flowing robes, their faces frozen in fear. Someone had attacked this ship. Someone had killed almost everyone on board. Followed his scanner toward the life sign. It led him deeper into the ship, past broken walls and shattered windows, until he reached a large chamber in the center. It was a throne room. And on the floor, lying in a pool of glowing silver blood, was the most beautiful creature had ever seen. Her skin was pale blue like a winter sky. Her hair was white like fresh snow. She wore a dress made of something that looked like liquid starlight, and she was dying. Ran to her side and pulled out his medical scanner. The results made his blood turn cold. They had 3 hearts. This woman had 2 that had stopped beating. The third was failing. She had lost too much blood. She needed a transfusion immediately or she would be dead in minutes. Searched the ship desperately. Medical bay, storage rooms, emergency supplies, nothing, everything was destroyed. There was no blood anywhere. He ran back to the dying woman and fell to his knees beside her. His scanner was beeping frantically, counting down the seconds of her life. There was one option, one impossible, stupid, dangerous option. Looked at his own arm. Red blood, human blood. Every medical database in the galaxy said it was incompatible with biology. The proteins would fight each other. Her immune system would attack itself. She would die faster and more painfully. But his scanner was showing something strange. A tiny match, 0.003% protein similarity. The databases called it irrelevant, meaningless, not worth considering. Had watched a lot of people die in his career. He had watched them slip away while he waited for the right medicine, the right equipment, the right help that never came. He was tired of watching people die. He pulled out a transfusion kit from his bag. His hands were shaking as he inserted the needle into his own arm. He watched his red blood flow through the tube. Then he inserted the other needle into the dying woman's arm. Her body jerked. Her eyes flew open. They were pure silver, like mirrors reflecting the darkness. She looked at him. She saw what he was doing, and for a moment saw something in those silver eyes that might have been confusion, or fear, or maybe even hope. "Hold on," he whispered. "Just hold on." Her eyes closed, her body went still, but her third heart kept beating, weak, struggling, alive. Kept pumping his blood into her. He felt dizzy. He felt cold. He ignored it. He would give her everything he had if it meant she would live. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know why her ship had been attacked. He didn't know if she would thank him or kill him when she woke up. He only knew one thing. She was dying and he could help. So he helped. That was who was. Not a hero, just a medic who couldn't watch someone die without trying to save them. He didn't know it yet, but that decision would change everything. Not just for him, not just for her. For the entire galaxy. Princess opened her eyes and saw a metal ceiling. This was wrong. Her bedroom had a ceiling made of crystal. It showed the stars at night and the 3 suns of her during the day. This ceiling was gray and ugly and had rust spots in the corners. She tried to sit up. Her body screamed with pain. She fell back onto the bed and gasped for air. "Don't move," said a voice. "You're still healing." Turned her head. A human woman stood beside her bed holding a medical scanner. She was small and plain, with black hair tied behind her head. Her name tag said Dr. Bora. A human was being treated by a human. She wanted to feel disgusted. Her whole life, she had been taught that humans were dirty creatures from a violent planet. They were newcomers to space, barely worth noticing. Touching one was considered shameful among her people. But she was too tired to feel anything except confused. "Where am I?" asked. Her voice came out weak and broken. "You're on the Iron Passage," Dr. Bora said. "A human cargo ship. We found you 3 days ago in the drift sector. Your ship was destroyed. Everyone else was dead." 3 days. Had been unconscious for 3 days. The memories came back slowly. The attack, the alarms, the guards falling one by one, her handmaiden pushing her into the throne room and locking the door before dying in front of it. Remembered lying on the floor, feeling her heart stop beating, one after another. She remembered thinking that she was going to die alone in the darkness. And then she remembered the human. He had appeared out of nowhere, a young man with a kind face and scared eyes. He had done something to her, something with blood. She remembered the feeling of something warm entering her body, something foreign, something alive. "The man said, 'The one who saved me, where is he?'" Dr. Bora hesitated. "Corporal, he's resting. He lost a lot of blood helping you." "Helping me how?" The doctor's face became uncomfortable. "Princess, there's something I need to tell you, something important." "Waited. When Corporal found you, you were dying. You had lost too much blood and there was no blood available anywhere, so he made a decision." Dr. Bora paused. "He gave you his blood, human blood." The world stopped. Looked down at her hands. They were still blue, but the shade was different, warmer. There were tiny lines of purple running under her skin where there should have been only silver. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Human blood is poison to my kind. I should be dead." "You should be," Dr. Bora agreed. But you're not. Somehow your body didn't reject the blood, it absorbed it, integrated it. Your cells have changed, princess. You're not fully anymore. Felt like she was falling. Everything she knew about biology, about her species, about herself, all of it was crumbling. I want to see him, she said. They brought to her room an hour later. He looked terrible. His face was pale and there were dark circles under his eyes. He had given her so much blood that he had nearly killed himself. For her, a stranger, an alien who belonged to a species that treated humans like dirt. Why? Asked him. Looked confused. Why what? Why did you save me? You knew what I was. You knew my people hate yours. You could have left me to die and no one would have blamed you. Was quiet for a long moment, then he shrugged. You were dying, he said. I'm a medic. I help people who are dying, that's it, that's all. Didn't understand. She had grown up in a palace where every action had a purpose. Every kindness had a price. Every gift came with expectations. The idea that someone would risk their life for a stranger, expecting nothing in return, was completely foreign to her. My people will not thank you for this, she said softly. When they find out what you did, they will call me contaminated. They will say you ruined me. Then your people are stupid, said. Almost laughed. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever dared. Over the next few weeks grew stronger. Her body healed faster than it should have. Dr. Bora ran test after test, and each result was more surprising than the last. Her hearts were not just healed, they were stronger than before. Her muscles were denser. Her immune system was more aggressive. She could eat human food now, something that would have made her sick before the transfusion. The human blood had not poisoned her, it had upgraded her. And then the message came from home. The sovereignty had learned of her survival. More importantly, they had learned what had saved her. The response was swift and cruel. Princess was declared contaminated. Her name was removed from the royal family. Her titles were stripped away. Her own mother, Sovereign, released a public statement saying that was no longer her daughter. Watched the message alone in her small room on the Iron Passage. She watched her mother's cold face speak cold words without a single hint of emotion. When it was over, she did not cry. She had been trained since birth to never show weakness. But inside something broke. A few hours later, found her sitting in the cargo bay, staring at the stars through a dirty window. I'm sorry, he said, about your family. Shook her head. Don't be, they were never really a family. They were an institution, a collection of traditions and rules. I was just a piece in their game. She looked down at her hands. The purple lines were more visible now. They glowed faintly in the darkness. Your blood changed me, she said. Not just my body, everything, the way I think, the way I feel. I look at my old life now and it seems so small, so empty, so afraid. She turned to look at. What else can your blood do? She asked. Didn't understand the question, but he would. Soon they both would. Because had a theory. If human blood could transform her, a princess of the most powerful empire in the galaxy, then it could transform anyone. It could save anyone. Human blood was not a contaminant. It was a miracle. And was going to prove it. The laboratory was hidden in the cargo bay of the Iron Passage. Dr. Bora had built it from spare parts and broken equipment. It was not pretty. It was not professional, but it worked, and that was all that mattered. Stood in the center of the small room, her arm extended. Dr. Bora took another sample of her blood. The liquid that came out was no longer silver. It was violet, a mix of silver and human red. 47th sample this month, Bora said, labeling the tube. I'm starting to know your blood better than my own. Sat in the corner, watching quietly. He had given more blood samples too, though his arm was covered in small bruises from all the needle marks. He never complained. For 3 months they had been running tests, experiments, comparisons. They had studied transformed cells under every condition they could create, and what they had found was terrifying. "Look at this," Bora said, pulling up a screen. The display showed two sets of cells. On the left were pure cells, beautiful, glowing, delicate. On the right were hybrid cells, darker, denser, almost angry-looking. Bora introduced a virus to both samples. The plague, a disease that had killed billions of beings across dozens of planets. There was no cure, no treatment. Infection meant death within days. The pure cells died in 6 hours. They simply collapsed, overwhelmed by the virus. The hybrid cells killed the virus in 45 minutes. Stared at the screen. How is that possible? Bora zoomed in on the hybrid cells. They were attacking the virus with brutal efficiency, surrounding it, destroying it, consuming its remains. "Human blood," Bora said slowly, "is not like other blood in this galaxy. Your species evolved on Earth. Do you know what Earth is like?" Shrugged home. "A death world," Bora said. "Your planet has earthquakes that destroy cities, hurricanes that flatten entire regions, ice ages that last thousands of years, volcanoes that block out the sun, and diseases, so many diseases, plagues that wiped out half your population multiple times." She turned to face him. "Every species in this galaxy evolved in stable environments, comfortable worlds. They became specialized, perfect for their home planets but fragile everywhere else. But humans evolved in chaos. Your bodies learned to survive everything, to adapt to anything, to fight threats that would kill any other species instantly." She pointed at the screen. "That adaptability is in your blood, and now it's in her blood too." Touched the screen gently. She watched her cells destroy the virus over and over in the recording. "We need to test more things," she said. Over the next few weeks, they tested everything. Radiation. Pure cells died at exposure levels considered safe for most species. Hybrid cells survived exposure 10 times higher than that. Extreme cold. Pure cells froze and shattered. Hybrid cells slowed down but kept functioning. Extreme heat. Pure cells cooked within minutes. Hybrid cells adapted, somehow protecting themselves. Physical damage. Cut her own hand with a knife to test this one. The wound closed in 30 seconds. Not healed, closed, like it had never existed. The implications were staggering. Humans were not the primitive newcomers the galaxy believed them to be. They were survivors. Millions of years of death and disaster had turned them into the most adaptable species in existence. Their blood carried that survival instinct in every cell. And that blood could be shared. "Do you understand what this means?" asked one night, her eyes bright with excitement. "Every species in this galaxy has weaknesses, diseases they can't cure, environments they can't survive, but with human blood those weaknesses could disappear." Felt uncomfortable. "You make us sound like medicine." "You are medicine, the most powerful medicine the galaxy has ever seen, and no one knows." But someone was about to find out. The news of survival had spread through the galaxy. Most species did not care about one princess, but some did, and some had questions. The first message came from the Federation. Their species was dying. A plague had swept through their worlds, killing 60% of their population. Nothing they tried could stop it. They had heard rumors about a princess who had survived the unsurvivable. They wanted to know how. The second message came from the collective. There had been destroyed by a solar event. Their refugees were crammed into ships that could not protect them from radiation. Thousands were dying every day. They had heard rumors about hybrid blood that could survive anything. They wanted to know if it was true. The third message came from the Council. Their species had a problem no one could solve. Their birth rates had dropped to almost zero. They were going extinct slowly, generation by generation. They had heard rumors about human biology and its strange adaptability. They wanted to know if it could help. read each message carefully, then she looked at. "They're asking us for help," she said. "All of them, species who would never speak to humans before, species who considered your kind beneath notice. Now they're begging." Felt strange. His whole life he had been taught that humans were the bottom of the galactic hierarchy, primitive, unimportant, lucky to be tolerated at all. Now he was learning that the galaxy needed them, needed him. "What do we do?" he asked. Smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had been thrown away by her family and her people, and was now realizing she had power they could never imagine. "We help them," she said. "We save them, and we make sure the galaxy never forgets what humans can do." But not everyone wanted to be saved by human blood. Far across the galaxy, in the crystal palace of the sovereignty, Sovereign received the same messages. She read about the desperate species asking for human help. She read about her contaminated daughter becoming a symbol of hope. And she made a decision. If the galaxy wanted to embrace human blood, she would teach them why that was a mistake. If her daughter wanted to spread human contamination across the stars, she would stop her. Even if it meant war. Even if it meant killing her own child. The sovereign called her admirals, she called her generals, she called her spies. The message was simple: humanity was a disease, and diseases must be destroyed. The war came without warning. Was eating breakfast in the mess hall when the alarm started screaming. He dropped his food and ran to the bridge. Through the window, he saw something that made his heart stop. Ships, hundreds of ships, warships, their silver hulls gleaming like knives in the darkness of space. They surrounded the iron passage like predators circling wounded prey. Captain's face was white with fear. They appeared out of nowhere, no warning, no communication, they just appeared. A message flickered onto the main screen. It was Sovereign's mother. Her face was cold and beautiful and completely without mercy. "You are carrying contaminated cargo," the Sovereign said. "The being you call Princess is no longer, she is a disease. You will surrender her to us for purification, or you will be destroyed." Captain looked at the door where was standing, her face calm but her hands shaking. "I'll go," said quietly. "I won't let everyone die because of me." "No," said. "They have hundreds of ships. We have one old cargo freighter. There is no choice here." "There's always a choice." Before anyone could stop him, grabbed the communication controls. He opened a channel to every ship in the area, not just the fleet, but every ship within range. Cargo ships, passenger vessels, mining rigs, everyone. "My name is," he said, his voice shaking but clear. "I am a human medic. 3 months ago, I gave my blood to save a dying princess. That blood did not kill her. It made her stronger. It made her immune to diseases that have killed billions. It made her survive radiation that would kill any pure." He paused, breathing hard. The sovereignty wants to destroy her because they fear what she represents. They fear change. They fear the idea that humans, the species they consider beneath them, might actually have something valuable to offer. He looked then back at the screen. "If any of you have ever been told that you were worthless, if any of you have ever been treated like you were nothing, if any of you have ever been sick or dying and no one cared enough to help, then you understand why I did what I did. I saved her because she was dying and I could help. That's it. That's all. And I would do it again." The channel went silent, the fleet waited, the universe held its breath. Then a new voice crackled through the speakers. "This is Commander of the 3rd Fleet. I received human blood 6 months ago after a shuttle accident. The sovereignty classified me as contaminated and discharged me from service." There was a pause. "Corporal is telling the truth. I am stronger now than I ever was before, and I am not alone." Another voice joined. "This is Captain of the Federation. 50 of my crew received human blood transfusions after the plague hit all of them survived. None of the untreated crew did. Another. This is elder of the collective. Human blood saved my children from radiation poisoning. I will not stand by while you murder the species that saved them. More voices, dozens, then hundreds, ships from across the sector, crewed by beings who had been saved by human blood, beings who called themselves something new. The Reborn. The fleet hesitated. They had expected a single defenseless cargo ship. Instead, they were facing a movement, a rebellion, an army of the saved. Sovereign's face appeared on the screen again. This time, there was anger in her eyes. "You are all contaminated," she hissed. "Every one of you. You have allowed human filth into your bodies, and now you defend them like they are your masters. This is exactly what I warned the galaxy would happen." Stepped forward, pushing past to face her mother's image. "You warned them that we would become stronger," said calmly. "You warned them that we would survive things that killed others. You warned them that we would stop being afraid of change. And you were right, Mother. We have changed. We have become something you cannot control, and that terrifies you." The Sovereign's face twisted with rage. "You are not my daughter." "No," agreed. "I am something better. I am proof that your perfect empire is built on fear. Fear of outsiders, fear of difference, fear of anyone who might challenge your power." She paused. "I am not afraid anymore. Neither are they." She gestured at the ships surrounding them. The reborn fleet had grown. More vessels were arriving every minute, jumping in from distant systems. The news had spread faster than anyone expected. Humanity was not alone. The galaxy was choosing sides. The Sovereign made her decision: destroy them all. The fleet opened fire. The Battle of the Drift lasted for 3 hours. Ships exploded on both sides. Lives were lost. Blood was spilled across the darkness of space. But the Reborn did not fight like. They did not follow the old rules of careful, calculated warfare. They fought like humans, reckless, aggressive, willing to sacrifice everything to protect what they loved. Commander led a squadron of converted cargo ships directly into the center of the formation. His tactics made no sense to the enemy admirals. He attacked where he should have defended. He retreated when he should have advanced. He did everything wrong according to military doctrine. But it worked. The fleet was designed to fight other. It was not designed to fight chaos. It was not designed to fight desperation. It was not designed to fight beings who had nothing left to lose. When the Sovereign's flagship finally fell, captured by a boarding party of reborn soldiers, the war was essentially over. Sovereign was brought to the Iron Passage in chains. She was placed in a small cargo room and left alone. An hour later went to see her. Mother and daughter faced each other through the bars of a makeshift cell. The Sovereign looked older than remembered, smaller, less terrifying. "You've won," the Sovereign said. "Congratulations. You've destroyed everything our ancestors built. You've contaminated our bloodline with human filth. You've turned the galaxy against us." Shook her head slowly. "I haven't destroyed anything, Mother. I've shown the galaxy a different path, a better path, one where species help each other instead of fearing each other, where blood is shared instead of hoarded, where survival matters more than purity." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small medical device. "I'm offering you a choice," said. "You can stay as you are, pure, perfect, and alone. Watch the galaxy change without you. Watch your empire crumble because it refused to evolve." She held up the device. "Or you can take the blood, become something new, join us." The Sovereign stared at the device. For a long moment her face showed nothing. Then, slowly, something like disgust crept across her features. "I would rather die," she said, "than carry human blood in my veins." Nodded sadly. She had expected this answer, but she had hoped for something different. "Then you will watch," she said. "You will watch as everything you feared comes true, and you will know that you could have been part of it. You chose not to be." She turned and walked away. Behind her, the sovereign sat alone in her cell, surrounded by the sound of a galaxy being reborn. 15 years had passed since the Battle of the Drift. Stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, watching ships from 100 different species dock peacefully below. The station was enormous, a ring of metal and glass floating in neutral space, built by humans and reborn working together. It had taken 5 years to construct. It had taken another 10 to fill it with life. Now it was the center of the new galaxy, a place where any species could come, trade, learn, and heal. A place where human blood, willingly donated, carefully distributed, was helping billions survive diseases and disasters that would have killed them before. Was not a medic anymore. He was ambassador, official representative of the Human Alliance to the Galactic Council. He wore a fancy suit instead of medical scrubs. He attended meetings instead of treating wounds. He missed the old days sometimes. Things had been simpler when all he had to do was save one life at a time. Now he had to worry about politics, treaties, trade agreements, and 1,000 other things that gave him headaches. But today was different. Today was a celebration. The door behind him opened. Walked in, her presence filling the room like sunlight. She was no longer princess. She was empress of the new ruler of an empire that had completely transformed in the years since the war. Her skin still glowed blue, but the purple lines of human blood were visible everywhere now, a mark of pride, not shame. The old sovereignty was gone. Sovereign had died in exile 6 years ago, alone and bitter, refusing to change until her last breath. Her empire had collapsed without her, torn apart by internal conflicts and abandoned by allies who no longer feared her. Had rebuilt it. She had opened the borders. She had invited other species in. She had made human blood transfusions available to any who wanted them, and millions did. The new empire was stronger than the old one had ever been. "You look tired," said, standing beside at the window. "I am tired," he admitted. 15 years of being important is exhausting. I don't know how you do it." Laughed. It was a warm sound, nothing like the cold, controlled manner of the old. Human blood had changed more than just her body. It had changed her soul. "I do it because someone has to," she said, "and because I remember what it was like before, the fear, the isolation, the belief that we were perfect and everyone else was beneath us." She shook her head. "We were so wrong." Below them, a ship docked next to transport. Crew members from both vessels met on the landing platform and shook hands, something that would have been unthinkable before the war. "Do you ever regret it?" asked suddenly. Looked at him surprised. "Regret what?" "Everything, the transfusion, the war, the changes. If I had just left you on that ship," he trailed off. Was quiet for a long moment, then she reached out and took his hand. "Before you found me, I was dying. Not just physically, I was dying inside. I lived in a palace surrounded by thousands of people, and I had never felt more alone. I was told every day that I was perfect, that our species was perfect, that nothing needed to change. And I believed it." She squeezed his hand. "Your blood didn't just save my life. It woke me up. It showed me that perfection is a prison. That change is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. You gave me more than survival, you gave me a reason to live." Felt something warm in his chest. After 15 years, he still didn't fully understand what he had started. He still felt like the same confused medic who had made a desperate choice in a dying ship. But looking at the galaxy now, at the ships flying together, at the species cooperating, at the lives being saved every day, he was starting to believe it might have been worth it. A chime sounded through the station. The ceremony was about to begin. They walked together to the main hall, where representatives from every major species in the galaxy had gathered. The room was filled with colors and shapes and sounds that would have seemed impossible 15 years ago. Stood next to humans. Laughed with. Beings who had once been enemies now called each other friends. Took his place at the podium. The room fell silent. 15 years ago, he began, his voice echoing through the hall, I was nobody special. I was a medic on a cargo ship doing my job trying not to die. I didn't plan to change the galaxy. I didn't want to start a revolution. I just saw someone dying and I tried to help. He looked out at the crowd, at the faces of beings from species he had never heard of before the war, all watching him with respect he still didn't feel he deserved. Humans have a saying, blood is thicker than water. We used to think it meant that family bonds were the strongest, that the people you were born with mattered more than anyone else. But I've learned something different. He paused. The blood we share with strangers, the sacrifices we make for beings we've never met, those bonds are thicker still. Family is not just who you're born to. Family is who you choose, who you bleed for, who you save, even when saving them costs you everything. He looked at standing in the front row. She was smiling at him, her eyes bright with tears she would never admit to. Today, the galaxy is one family. Not because we were born that way, not because we're the same species or speak the same language or believe the same things. We're family because when someone was dying, someone else said, "Take my blood, take whatever you need, just live." He stepped back from the podium. That's what it means to be human, not strength, not intelligence, not technology or power or conquest. Just the simple willingness to help someone who needs it even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, even when the whole universe tells you not to. The room was silent for a moment. Then the applause started, slowly at first, then building like thunder. Walked down from the stage, overwhelmed, met him at the bottom of the steps and pulled him into an embrace. "Thank you," she whispered in his ear. "Thank you for saving me. Thank you for changing everything." Held her tightly. He thought about the scared medic he had been, kneeling beside a dying princess in a wrecked ship, making a choice that seemed insane at the time. He thought about all the lives saved since then, all the diseases cured, all the conflicts ended, all the beings who called themselves reborn because human blood ran through their veins. He thought about his home planet, Earth, the death world, the place that had forged humanity into the most adaptable species in existence without anyone ever realizing it. And he smiled. "I'd do it again," he said. "I'd do it 1,000 times." Because that was who humans were. That was what humans did. When someone was dying, humans helped. When someone was alone, humans reached out. When someone said it was impossible, humans found a way. The galaxy had called them primitive, weak, unimportant. Now the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was not just a species. Humanity was hope. And hope, as it learned, could change everything.